I told you Josh had another new move. In fact, he does. It is a buy, and it is, Mr. Brown?
Baker Hughes, ticker BKR. This is one of the best performing stocks in a sector that's performed terribly this year. And this one popped up on our list of the best stocks in the market on October, I think, 13th or 17th, and it's stuck around over the last couple of weeks, and it's actually been building in strength. So basically, this is one of only 10 positive stocks this year in the S&P energy sector. It's the 8th best performer in the group, up about 10% year to date. They're expecting to grow earnings 44% over the year. It's the 3rd highest earnings growth rate out of the sector. That's probably why it's outperforming. I think what's really interesting here is that $38, $39 level. If you take a look at a 5-year chart, you can see clearly that was an area where the stock struggled a couple of years ago. We're 30 months later about to retest that area. And if she breaks through, there really aren't any sellers in the name. Everyone would be positive. You've got an RSI in the 60s, not overbought yet. So it'll probably struggle with that $38, $39 area. I'm anticipating the breakout here, but I think it's one of those situations where it's a really high-quality company, not expensive, clearly diverging from the rest of the OIH. And when you listen to what Chevron and Exxon said this morning about their plans to spend, all of that money goes to companies like Baker Hughes, which is oil field services giant. Mm-hmm. So I like the stock. I like the business as well. Looks really healthy, and I think it could work.
Okay. Bren, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great assessment of Baker Hughes. I think also it's interesting. I mean, we own Viper, which is probably one of the best performing, if not the best performing in the energy space, which is mineral rights, up 66%. I think really we want to see more China stimulus. To me, that's the catalyst that we're going to need to actually get the sector writ large to go higher towards the end of the year. So we'll see what happens after the election next week if China's waiting to see who wins. If we get some more real stimulative measures in China, I think that definitely bodes well to the energy sector. But I like Josh's oil field services play, Baker Hughes.
Jimmy, you got Exxon. Speaking of, shares were higher. We can take a look now if they're their beat. Their revs did miss.
Good report.
Raise their dividend.
Good report, and they raised their dividend, as you point out. That's another one in the sector that's actually done very well, up about 20% year to date. But I just want to echo something that Bren and Josh just both said. If you listen to what companies are saying on their calls, they're saying they're going to be drilling more. And there's a lot of, for instance, offshore projects that are going to be coming to bear over the next couple of years. I own Transocean, similar to Baker Hughes, except that it's offshore. And their conference call yesterday, they said it's very clear that spending is picking up. So the point here is you can look at energy prices, such as oil or natural gas, and say, hey, maybe this is a terrible sector to be in. Or you can listen to what the companies are saying. The companies are saying business is good and likely to stay that way. I'm going to go with what the companies are saying.
Weiss?
Yeah,
no exposure. I mean, I know you don't love this space, generally speaking, but how would you assess it as an investable idea?
Yeah,
now?
Look, it's investable. They're real companies. They have real cash flows. They have real dividends, if that's what you're playing for. But I just find it, to be feast or famine, and it's famine for 9 years and feast for the 10th year. And I'm not so sure. So if I were to play it, I'd play the Baker Hughes of the world, because I don't think it's a good thing ultimately if the big oil companies are drilling more and more, because all that's going to do is suppress the price of oil, and then that will lead to lower budgets eventually. But the best way to play it is, again, with the tool belt. And so you don't bet in the commodity.
Okay.